guess it's easy for you, but maybe you should try putting yourselves into my shoes for a moment. I know you can all sit there and have a good laugh at us disciples, but I wonder whether you would have been any better at understanding those stories that Jesus told if you were hearing them for the first time. I know you probably think we're a bit thick, a bit stupid, a bit slow on the uptake, that we had to ask him to explain over and over again. But we didn't have your hindsight, did we? The story that we heard, well, it was just a couple of minutes old, and we were on the spot. We didn't have 2,000 years of interpretation, of analysis, of explanation. We didn't get the chance to get bored of it and to say to each other, oh no, not this one again. And it wasn't exactly as if he told many stories about these. Fish. That's what I'm good at. That's what I understand. That's what I know. Me, Peter, the fisherman. No, he spoke about anything but fish. It was all right for Matthew. Anything to do with finances, anything to do with money, anything to do with investments. Well, Matthew was laughing all the way to the bank, if you'll excuse the pun. But for me, well, he only really told one story about fishing, and that was about a fishing net. And he told it on the day when I was ill, so I didn't even get the chance to show him how much I knew, although I suspect he knew that anyway. So when he launched into this new one, this one about seeds, about a sower, about different types of soil, well, to be honest, we just looked at each other. None of us were farmers. None of us knew anything about being a sower. I guess maybe that's why he turned the task over to us, why he made it practical, why he sent us out in twos, and it was probably only then that the penny dropped, that his story became real. I guess if we're honest, we thought we were going to go and change the world, just like that. But it wasn't that easy. You know, we'd chat to fellow travellers on the way, wherever we were going. We'd enter into towns and villages. We'd start preaching in local synagogues, in marketplaces, down by the river, anywhere really. To be honest, we couldn't stop talking about him, about what he'd done, about what he'd said, about who he associated with, about how they'd reacted. Talk about scattering seeds. We were throwing it in all directions. And initially, well, I think we thought there'd be an enormous response. We thought we'd be rushed off our feet. People coming from all directions, wanting to hear more. Only that was a dream, rather than the reality. It was just like he'd said in that tale about the sower. Sometimes our words and our actions, well, they fell on what I suppose Jesus would call the hard path. And the seed just appeared to get trampled on. Or people were in too much of a rush to hear what we said. They were distracted. Distracted by voices calling them in a different direction. And our words, well, they fell on deaf ears. Or maybe they were just too concerned with the busyness of their day to be concerned about the business of God's kingdom. Sometimes the reception was a little better, and we were initially encouraged when the word seemed to find a home. It seemed to take root only for, well, initial enthusiasm to start to wane. It wasn't deep, it was superficial, and then it withered, just like a seedling under the sun. On other occasions, we just felt helpless. We stood by as the signs of new life, well, they were extinguished. Extinguished by the voices and the actions of others, by family, by friends, by religious leaders, by society. By voices that seemed to be bigger, more powerful, more influential. I guess these were like the weeds and the thorns that Jesus had spoken about. Power, position, prestige, image, money, fame, materialism. I know what you're asking. You're going to say, so what makes it all worthwhile? Well, I have to admit there are times when I wasn't sure it was. There are times when we'd almost given up, times when we were full of disappointment, full of despair. But then there were those moments where the seed seemed to land in good soil. Soil that was rich, soil that was fertile, soil that was fruitful, soil that was productive. Seed that was sown in people who just soaked up what we had to say. Soaked it up like a flower in an arid landscape receiving rain. They couldn't get enough. From us, from each other. Developing their discipleship, finding strength and support in numbers, in community. On occasions we had to leave. We had to leave before our work was done. And we came back to Jesus not knowing how these newfound communities of faith would develop. Only to hear weeks, months, even years later that what we had sown had taken root, had flourished, had grown, had produced a harvest. A harvest bigger and better than we could ever have dreamed about. One full of faith. A faith that produced fruit. Fruit in the shape of love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, even self-control. I set off on this journey as a fisherman. Fish was all that I'd known about. But I wonder as my journey with Jesus has progressed, whether indeed one day I might just learn how to be a gardener.